Okay, hi everyone, and welcome today to our marketing and promotion webinar. We really appreciate you guys joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Kelsey Woodward, the content marketing manager here at GiveSmart, and today I have with me Patrick Clore, head of our customer insights, also at GiveSmart. We also have Eric Laura, the Assistant Athletic Director of Development at Eastern Illinois University. He will be joining us shortly. He's having some technical difficulties, so no worries. We're going to go ahead and get started, and he's going to join us in a few. So thanks Patrick for joining.
Absolutely, thanks for having us. And I mean, I've never met a nonprofit event that didn't have a few hiccups and not go according to plan. So I do feel it is appropriate for the content that we're going to go through that we're having a few technical difficulties, and we'll keep rocking and rolling.
Yes, it'll all be good. And so we're really pleased to see so much interest over the last couple of months in our webinar. So thank you for you guys who have come back and you keep participating. We're really excited today. We have just about 2,000 people registered. So please go ahead and utilize the chat function in today's webinar. Feel free to put any thoughts, comments, questions. We'll be referencing that throughout and pulling your questions at the end during our Q&A session. So we'll address those then. But if you have any comments or insights or things that you might want to share with other people on the call, if this jogged any ideas for you, definitely put them in there and share. And so if you guys want to continually also access the resources that we put out at GiveSmart, you can feel free to follow us on LinkedIn as well as Twitter. And so if you also feel inclined and you want to kind of interact with us today, we're going to be live tweeting at #GiveSmartPowerUp. So a couple housekeeping bits. For those of you who don't know, we will be sending out this entire presentation as a recording later this afternoon. And we also anticipate going around 40 minutes with content. We have a lot of really good stuff today. So 40 minutes of content and then probably 15 minutes for Q&A. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. So before we get started on the content, we just want to kind of get a feel for who's on the call and see, so does your organization have an in-house marketing team? Yes, or yes, if by team you mean a team of one. No, but we hire an outside one, so perhaps a firm or someone from the outside. And so I know that kind of typically we'll just give you guys a minute to weigh in. Please cast a response. We know that sometimes the marketing team also doubles as a development team for nonprofits. So we're just kind of curious to see, the situation of you guys all on the call. And so in the meantime, Patrick, can you just kind of weigh in and let us know kind of your role at GiveSmart and your experience like helping run events over the last like 5-6 years?
No, absolutely. So I've been in the fundraising space for the past 5 years now, and I've been in the current role now for about 4 months' time, really trying to hone in as technologies evolve, as fundraising practices evolve, as within the industry, trying to figure out how to leverage data. And I think a lot of times, even for my own self, looking at it every day, data and reporting can be an intimidating thing, but figuring out what are some of the insights that can be gleaned and really made actionable so that any organization, regardless of size or scope, can take advantage of it. Going to events and doing some of these things has always been one of my favorite parts of my job. Previous to the current role, serving as our director of operations, was fortunate enough to travel to events of all sizes throughout the country. And so I think the creative application that people have to promote events, not just before and after, but even during the event, some of the different creative practices really resonates, and I think is helped drive some of the content that I know we're going to cover here today.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's see the results from that poll. And also, okay, it looks like we have Eric on the call as well. Hi, Eric.
Hey, how are you guys? How are we doing today?
Oh, good. Okay, cool. I'm glad that you were able to get in, and sorry about that. Okay, so cool. So it looks like the majority, half of the people on the call are a marketing team of one, and 21% do have marketing teams. So cool. Kind of a bit of a spread here on the call, so that will be good. Good to know. Okay, So moving forward, these are the three sections that we're going to go through today, kind of data and marketing and kind of how that's important, how you can utilize that to benefit exactly the campaigns and things that you are running, why data should drive your campaign. Next, we're going to look at marketing tips and some just campaign best practices that might help make it easy, if you're doing it on your own, if you're doing it on a small team, maybe you don't have a team at all, as some of you just weighed in to say. And last, you're going to be some social media hacks where we kind of just dig in a little bit deeper there. And so to start, in September, GiveSmart put together a fundraising event expectation study where we compared the expectations around these big signature events with event planners and donors. So there's a big portion of that that's pretty pertinent to promotion and marketing when it comes to your campaign. So Patrick, if you could just kind of take us through the start some of these sections of the study and kind of what jumped out to you.
Certainly. So I think the initial thing that stuck out is the largest disparity that we saw between donors and planners really was regarding email. As you can see there, 87% of event planners, which isn't just event planning companies, kind of encompasses anyone who's putting together an event, felt that email was going to be the best way for donors to hear about an upcoming fundraiser, something of that variety, yet donors really went in a complete different direction. And so, drilling into it from there, I think there's a lot of push in the world we live in today for social media, but seeing the word of mouth and in-person social networking really being a place where people are going to find out. And so I think taking advantage of promoting upcoming initiatives at an event, you obviously have a captive audience in front of you at event A. So making them aware of initiatives that you have going in event B, C, and D, I think is something that if people aren't doing, is something to make sure that from a best practice standpoint, that people really get into. And I think, the benefit of human trust channels, which there's all these things, on the internet, but I think the value of in-person interactions really stuck out is the most common way that donors are going to hear, which definitely was encouraging to see that the value of in-person still resonates.
Yeah, and so I think that kind of just ties into, right, like what exactly does that mean for your marketing plan then if that's how people are responding? Patrick.
Sorry about that. We had an audio difficulty with it.
Okay.
But, I think in terms of the marketing plan and once again, being able to take action with the insights, I think community is the thing that really resonates, and being able to encourage or even challenge people to, bring a friend or two to your next event, or, doing things maybe outside the norm of potlucks, happy hours, or, volunteer days. It doesn't always necessarily need to be just revenue initiatives that we're talking about here, but really trying to build a community so that donors, volunteers, board members, whatever the case might be, there's an excitement and a cachet to attend events that people don't really want to miss out on overall. Yeah,
and so Eric, I'm curious, for you guys over at Eastern Illinois University, how do you sort of weave this in, knowing that community is a big part of your fundraising, and how do you guys leverage that?
Yeah, it's an ever-growing challenge to engage people nowadays with so many enticing things like Netflix and social media, and people are stuck to their phones and their computers, and it's ever-growing challenge, and it's part of what some big brands are doing. And I think in the fundraising world, we're really gravitating towards it. It's personal events, community events, things that get people excited to go out of their house and do things that are a little bit out of the norm of what some other people are doing. I know for a fact that almost every development or university in the nation is sending email blasts. I know for a fact that almost all universities around the nation are sending personalized emails. So if you want to be different, if you want to be out there and engage some of those audiences or constituents that you have trouble engaging right now, you got to be creative. And we do some different things. And again, there's not rocket science, right? Just go out and do a little bit of research, try to get a good hold of your demographics and who it is that you're targeting, and then go from there. And then at that point, obviously, you got to look at your funding, what type of resources do you have to get some of those people looking towards your way, and then go out and do it. There's nothing more efficient than getting on the ground and doing some guerrilla marketing and passing out flyers and saying hello to people and being present. So those are just some of the things that Eastern Athletics does to engage its community.
Yeah, and I think that actually ties in really nicely to this figure that we're going to look even further into. But this chart shows that even like tech-addicted millennials are more likely to attend an event that they hear about in person, basically. So through your colleagues, your friends, your family, your close personal network. And so yeah, I think that this is definitely showing the breakdown of the demographics here.
Yep, absolutely. And
yeah.
I think,
Go ahead.
The one thing that the one thing he said that I think it just resonated and got me excited is I think, the word personal within that is to make something personalized, you got to know where that is coming from. And so I think being able to really understand the demographics of the donors was one of the things that really stuck out in the data when we took a look at it overall. And so I think definitely, snail mail is, I don't know about everybody else, but I get mail all the time that's or current resident. So that tells me in and of itself that the success rate of somebody even receiving it isn't going to be high. But again, really seeing the fact that in person, across generational gaps, being able to resonate. And obviously, as Eric alluded to, every organization is going to run differently. But if you don't know some of the basic demographic profiles, it's never too late to start. And so it doesn't need to be with some massive survey or CRM or different things like this. People probably already know more about their donors than they realize. And so I think being able to find some of that information and really, what motivates them to give, and, what motivates them and inspires them from that call to action standpoint, I think is massively beneficial and allows you to take advantage of the information.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And as we kind of roll into demographics, Eric, I was hoping you could share, kind of what exactly, so this is a screenshot of one of your campaigns that you guys ran, a donation campaign allowing donors to pick the teams within your athletics department that they wanted to give to. And I'm curious, how exactly do you guys use donor demographics to shape your campaigns? How do you keep track of them? How do you figure out exactly what those demographics are?
Yeah, fortunately for us, we have so many head coaches and assistant coaches that are great at working with our alumni and our donors to get out information. So that obviously helps tremendously when targeting a large group. But what I think your question is really asking is, do we have a fancy system in understanding our demographics? And no, we don't have a fancy system. What I think we are really good at is sitting down and understanding what our messaging is and how we want to come across, and then really just pushing that message organically. And for the most part, a lot of our constituents had an experience here, so it's a little bit different than if you're targeting a new donor, someone who has never donated before. But I think a lot of our donors are return-based donors because they either went to the school or were alumni or connected through family and friends or business. So really understanding who you're trying to target and how is the most efficient way to target that crowd is really what we try to do. Again, we don't have a fancy system for determining our demographics, but we do have a good understanding of who our constituency base is and trying to mold our campaigns around them, because ultimately they're the people that we're working for. We're trying to attract, we're trying to engage, because engagement turns into it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you. And I think that that's kind of a good point. This chart sort of points to it. It's like you don't necessarily need a fancy system to kind of analyze donor demographics, as long as you're starting to kind of look out for them and look for patterns and keep track of them in some sort of way. If you do have the ability in your donor management system to, you know, mark people in specific demographics, of course, utilize that function if it's available to you. And otherwise, you know, you just have to kind of, like you said, just kind of get out there, survey people, ask people, and turn to those who are connected with your donors the most to get that. And so, Patrick, kind of going back again, and this also goes exactly like what Eric just said with the messaging being important. What sort of surprises you the most about this information here?
I think exactly what Eric said is, you know, if you understand who to target and how you're looking to target them, you don't need to get too drilled in, but making it personalized far and away, you know, I think resonates the most. And, you know, back in the day, the value of a handwritten note was, you know, one of the best things you could do. And I think that there's ways with modern technologies and systems to recreate that kind of feel that it gives to people. And so instead of emailing 5,000 people the same message, you know, is there folks who've attended one event versus, you know, hey, you came last year, and even, you know, hey, we look forward to round 2, or different things like that, and making those touch points personal. And I think especially, I know Eric and I were joking around the other day as we were looking at this, you know, on the email is clickbait even, and talking about subject lines and some of these creative things, because how many emails, you know, hit everybody's inboxes, not just, you know, event planners or organizers or donors, but just any person, your inbox, something that sticks out and catches your eye and is a little bit clever and creative, and especially if it can be directly tied to a particular mission or really personalized, you know, makes a long difference. And so I think, you know, personalized doesn't mean you have to know every aspect of an individual. It just means that, okay, based upon what you do know, how can you leverage the relationship you've built up to this point?
Yeah, for sure. And that's a great point. And also knowing, depending on the email server you use too, every time, even if you do send a big blast email, it doesn't always have to be, you know, just kind of thinking, it doesn't have to be in some sort of fancy newsletter format. Like you can also send a very personal note, you know, to multiple people as well. But I think I like what you said, Patrick, about even if you're just segmenting sort of things, like it's you know, your big gala is coming up, instead of just sending out this year's gala is happening, maybe break that down into 3 and send it to a group of people that's like, we really hope you're finally going to be able to make it to our gala. It's so much fun, blah, blah, blah. And then the other group of people, like round 2, let's do it, we're excited. And then the third group, it's like, thank you so much for your continued support and coming to our gala over the years. We're happy to have you back again, you know, blah, 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 for those more, the even longer term supporters. Eric, do you have anything else to add here before we move into the next section?
Yeah, just to touch real quick on subject lines, you know, I think that really is one of the most important pieces to an email blast, and even sometimes to a personalized email. I think, again, like what Patrick said, leveraging your relationship and understanding where that relationship stands in the business piece of it is very important. You know, if I have more of a social relationship with someone, I may want to reach out over social media or something like that, where it does incorporate a little bit more social piece to it. If, you know, I trying to recruit or get someone to be a part of our event that's much more business oriented, well, it's not necessarily typical business standards to reach out to a business through their Instagram or Facebook, right? So maybe sending a personalized email to the person who is in charge of that department, or kind of going through those steps to really understand why you're trying to message them, who you're targeting, and, you know, what's appropriate for that relationship. So again, it is just a reinforcement on understanding your relationships, understanding your donor demographics, and understanding your resources on how you can get in front of those individuals.
Yeah, really great point. I'm just actually writing that down: relationships, resources, demographics. Okay. So moving on to our next section is kind of marketing without much bandwidth. Based on the poll that we took at the beginning, 75% of you on the call today are operating as a marketing team of one, or you don't have an in-house marketing team at all. So the following kind of things that we're going to go through are just ways that will help you build a marketing plan that you can replicate for campaigns to come. So, you could maybe do it, for a smaller campaign and then kind of tweak it for your bigger gala or bigger events. However you want to do, it's kind of going to set you up with exactly this, a framework of what you should touch on in order to execute a well done marketing campaign. And so again, these are all kind of general that can be tweaked as you go. But the first thing you want to start with are your goals. So what exactly are you hoping to accomplish with this campaign? Is it a specific initiative, to fund the new library, or are you trying to build a playground, or do you want jerseys for the basketball team? Or, is this behind the campaign, the event? What exactly are you trying to have happen here, and keeping that at the forefront of your mind as you continue to build out the rest? So the next part, would be your audience. Exactly. We just really kind of talked about audiences before. Knowing who they are, knowing how to contact them is all very important. For example, if it's a university and you're wanting to build out the swim team, swim alumni are way more likely going to be involved with that than would say the football team. And so Eric, you probably definitely speak to that. And basically my question for you is how do you guys determine your goals? You do a big spring gala, and how do you determine those goals as you gear up for that campaign?
Yeah, so we have several events throughout the year that are large fundraising events, and we do have one specifically, which is our largest one, which is somewhat like a gala. And just to touch real quick on what you had mentioned prior to, in athletics and in the university system, you do typically deal with what we call affinity donors. So donors who are really clued in and really knowledgeable about a particular subject or a particular program. So typically, like you said, swimming alumni would most likely have an affinity for the swimming program, and they are more likely to give if asked for the swimming program than if for the general fund or any other type of thing. So we do deal with a lot with affinity type donors. But to kind of go back to what you were saying before, is we definitely do. We try to sit down in the pre-planning phase and just talk about our goals, our audiences, messaging. What is it going to take to put on the event, and how can we improve from last year's event? Because that's one of the biggest things where I think people they tend to forget that building a little bit upon each year will have a successful event in 2 or 3 years. When you're trying to just kind of change the whole wheel and go back to the event and just reorganize everything to make more revenue off of it, sometimes is much more challenging and not time efficient for it. So I think really understanding what your goals are, what the messaging of the event is, and then how you can execute it, that really what it comes down to. And we we spend, so our large event is in April, the first week of April, and we typically spend about 3 months out of the year focusing on this event and making sure that all the details and are all kind of set in stone.
Yeah. Great. I mean, that was all really well said and pretty much, through all the items on the list. And so I'll just kind of wrap up those thoughts for sure. Just saying, when you're thinking of messaging, think beyond. I mean, this is your entire communications plan. This is beyond just the invites that are going to go out. But this also can include what exactly the posters are going to look like. Are you going to write press releases for the local press and pitches, all your social media plan and relevant posts, internal and external emails, so how you communicate to solicit auction items, how you're recruiting people to volunteer for the gala night, and things like that. And even scripts if phone calls are going to be involved, solicitation letters, all of that in the messaging, like you said, Eric, exactly, should definitely include your goal. The next are to think about your assets. So all of these written messages that we just talked about, including like the physical posters even themselves, how are these going to look? You want the posters to match the website, to match the invites. You want everything to look cohesive so that when donors are seeing this pop up on social or in their mailbox, or in their inbox, you know, it's all looking the same, and they know, oh, okay, yeah, this is all pertaining to this one campaign, rather than thinking they might be trying to, you know, get you to help with 5 different campaigns. So keeping those assets and stuff consistent, and as well as organized. And I did just want to share this one slide with a calendar. It's just a screenshot of a Google Calendar, but also looking into, if you don't already do this, it's just something that I do that I feel like is really helpful. You can build out different calendars within a calendar. Personally, I am very much just like a color-coded person. So maybe your big gala has the color red, and then the fall giving campaign is green, and your summer cookout is going to be yellow. Just kind of breaking it out so that you can see exactly what your plan is for that specific event. Instead of looking at an entire calendar and feeling overwhelmed, you know, you can just pull up the one that pertains just to that event. And it's really important to sort of build these things out as you're working forward, setting meetings, marking when you should expect invites to arrive, when they should go out, the day that you need everyone's RSVPs back, the day that you ideally need to hit 50% of your ticket sales so that you can afford to pay vendors in order to actually go through with having the event, and things like that. And so this is just a good example, apart from your day-to-day or your regular team stuff, to go ahead and do something like this. And after, in our follow-up email, I'll actually go ahead and share our 12-month master plan in the chat box with everyone, and include it in the follow-up email. It's a really great tool kind of that we've put together, like a massive outline just for an entire year. And so that's just a quick note on planning. And then the last 2 notes, just to talk about execution and measurement. So making sure everyone on your team knows their responsibilities leading up to the event and the night of the event, and making sure that they're held accountable. And so you could maybe use a project management tool for this, such as Asana, Monday, Trello. There are a lot of good resources out there that you can use that different people can be involved with so that they're held responsible for their tasks. And then also measuring, like Eric mentioned, you know, look back at the year before and give yourself, start to set some things so that you have something to compare to, because if you just start reinventing the wheel each year, that's not going to be efficient. But I know that was kind of a lot all at once. I'm just gonna pause if Eric or Patrick, if either of you guys have anything to add into this.
You hit it on the head over here.
Go, Eric, you're the subject matter expert. I'm deferring to you, sir.
No. I was just saying she covered all that very well.
It's a poor attempt at a joke. Is, you know, I think the one thing that stuck out to me on the calendar, personally, I'm colorblind, so the colors would mess me up. But I think, you know, and you mentioned it, Kelsey, in the execution standpoint, is the collaboration, and even though we know, you know, 52% of you said it's a one-person marketing team, there's far more entities that go into putting on these events. And so I think visibility and communication is a struggle in any type of organization, you know, for-profit or non-for-profit. So I think that, you know, such as that of making sure, you know, hey, the person who might be your auction chair, you know, communicating with the accounting team and different things, making sure that people at least have the visibility, and maybe there's not necessarily something to do per se, but I think that's one of the major benefits of some shared resources along those lines. Yeah, cool.
Another thing that we wanted to mention, worth mentioning, that definitely will do, once this is set up, Google AdWords, once it's set up, it does the work for you when it comes to your search engine optimization. And so Google Ad Grants are a program from Google that gives nonprofits the ability to create search result ads for free for up to $10,000 a month. So when people are searching for related keywords, such as, you know, dogs to adopt in NYC, if you're a local shelter, you know, this will help basically your shelter appear first within the sponsored ad section. And you can use this to publicize your organization, but you could also use it to publicize your upcoming gala or any other big event that you might be having. Again, we're going to send out more information on this in our follow-up email, but really wanted to make it worth, I thought it was worth mentioning in case anybody on the call didn't know about it. So it is out there for you to apply to. And like I said, we will send more information on that because we're not Google and can't really give a whole talk on it, but definitely will send more info your way. And so, Patrick, if you could just run us through, these are also some additional resources that are really helpful.
Yep, absolutely. I think, in terms of being able to resources, there's 100 million that exist, but, these are the ones that either we've heard people talk about or we've, seen people use as well. I think Canva, I'm not a design person, and it allows me to make something look pretty versus the chicken scratch that it usually is. So I think, each of these has their own things. And as Kessa mentioned, in the follow-ups, we'll send some information. And definitely if in the chat people have other resources, our hope is to combine all of these. These are all free or have free versions to it. But in particular, I know transitioning into a role recently under our marketing team, I didn't know a whole lot about digital marketing, so was able to attend a general assembly course. It was free, and there was about 40 people in the room. They have physical locations as well as online. But of the 40 people, it really stuck out to me that 50% of people in this class actually worked at nonprofits in various roles. And so that really stuck out to me because it was a great resource. It's taught by a professional in that industry. And so I think different things like that are available. And outside of these resources, I think the one that sometimes goes overlooked is, and we kind of talked previously about social network, is leveraging the network of your donors and your volunteers. And so seeing someone who might, we're talking about marketing, but it could be in any other area that, hey, if you do have somebody who has an expertise or is a professional in a field, seeing if they would donate their services or time. I learned everything I know within Excel because we had somebody who one of our employees taught a course for 2 hours during a slow part of the year. And so I think those kind of options and opportunities exist. And I think from an engagement standpoint, it's also just a creative and different way of, hey, we value you, and so we'd love to pick your brain a bit. I think that also kind of helps from a, that personalized touch that we were speaking on before.
Yeah, for sure. And so now we're going to roll into last section about social media hacks. And so it's 2020, so we all know that we should have a social media presence. I think that is very much a given. And so we're going to dig in a bit deeper. And so before we do that, just another quick poll, if everyone could weigh in. Do you utilize social media to promote your campaigns, and do you encourage your board to do so as well? So yes, we do both. We promote on social, but our board does not. No, neither. Or our supporters promote for us, so we don't have to. And just kind of while we pause here, Eric, I know you were telling us the other day about, some of your kind of celeb alumni, and if you could just kind of share that story about how you guys have them help and work with your social interaction, I think that'd be great to hear.
Yeah, so obviously this is a main topic here on this webinar because social media is so impactful nowadays. Again, I used kind of the idea a little bit earlier in this chat to describe that all of us have our faces and heads stuck in either a cell phone or computer or television 70% of the time. So obviously social media has a huge influential market that is waiting to be tapped. So what we do here is we do use an array of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook groups. I mean, we have all sorts of social media that we use, from all the way from team wise to donor membership club wise to department wide. So we have so many different types of social media that I think we have a really good option of targeting who we're trying to target with what specific message we're trying to get out. We do ask our executives and our top administrators to put things out on social media, but as you can kind of suspect, as some of these administrators are a bit older and not all of them are as savvy. So what it seems like we do is we utilize our student athletes social media just as much, and it's kind of a new strategy here in the university landscape to utilize your student athlete social medias to promote events, to promote games, to promote so many different types of things that that the department does on a regular basis. But some cool things that I think we've done in the past that hopefully will give some of the listeners some ideas. TikTok is a huge new social media that does allow some creativity into I know there might be a question about that here in just a few short minutes, but we allowed each sport to go out and just be creative, put their creative hats on, and really make some captivating videos, make some engaging content, and that's really what it's about, is engagement. And then we put that up and we posted it on all our social medias. And, year after year in this event, we've had over 30% increase on both years we've done it now. So we did it for our third year in a row this year. And this year we made over $52,000 in just 24 hours by just reaching out.
That's amazing.
And this is what we call a social media campaign. So we did not send mailers. We did not do anything but social media marketing. So essentially our marketing cost for this campaign was free almost. We did promote some posts through Facebook and things like that. That was very minimal cost. We put together a campaign solely through social media. So that shows you how impactful it can be. And really, what sets you apart from all the other posts is the creativity and the thought behind what you're trying to put out there. So, we do use our celebrities. As you know, or maybe you guys don't, Jimmy Garoppolo, the Super Bowl quarterback, was a star here. Tony Romo, and we have some great names that we do utilize their networks to put out event information and things like that. And although those do sometimes cost us quite a bit of either relationship, kudo points, or dollars, it is beneficial because so many people are watching those accounts that it's more worth to invest a little bit on a network already connected to yours than go out and put a TV ad together or a newspaper ad that may not bring much attention to your event.
For sure, it's like picking and choosing where you spend those dollars. Okay, cool. Let's see those poll results, and we'll keep going. And those are definitely all really great points, Eric. And we will definitely be talking more about those. Cool. Do both, and our board does not. So pretty much everyone here is active on social, which is really great. And we're going to kind of keep going into that in terms of who you can pull along with you. So if we can close the poll, sweet. Now, so Patrick, kick us off, or help us kind of understand algorithms and exactly how we can make how algorithms work, for the organization that you're promoting.
Absolutely. At first, we were going to say, how do you hack social media? But we don't support hacking in any means. So I think it's figuring out how to make it work for you, really. And I think three things resonate the most in that area: recency, relevancy, and engagement. And as we talk about recency, it's where have people seen your message, and do they know? And is there kind of a, oh hey, I'm on this medium, I'm going to see it, or I'm getting inundated with it? And I think it's how often. I think proximity. Earlier today, I have to give a shout out to an organization, Girls on the Run of Southeastern Wisconsin, who they have their big annual gala that is running on Saturday, and today kind of kicked off a countdown of sorts on social media. And I thought it was a great way of kind of bringing that excitement to the forefront. And so certainly you want to sell tickets maybe a few months out, but as you're gearing up, doing some form of fun countdown and making it tied in. Relevancy, obviously, if it's something that your audience doesn't care about, then it's a waste of effort on your time, and you don't want to kind of sully the brand reputation or anything like that. So I think making sure that it's a message in a place that your audience cares about. And Eric said it perfectly when it comes to engagement. Make it engaging, make it fresh. There are so many different things that exist out there that having something that sticks out, and I think especially at a university level, Eric hit the nail on the head. Alumni and different things like that are a great base. But even looking at the poll where we saw, we promote it, but our board does it. And even, a lot of events, especially in more metro areas, even if you have the local weathercaster coming, leveraging their network. And so I think bringing more people to the forefront and a part of it, I'm not a SEO expert, but I think a lot of it is, the more times you have the same message or the same hashtag shared by different people is going to increase the odds that it shows up. And potentially, as Eric said, you can do things for free if you get a little bit creative, as opposed to needing to be any sort of expert.
And for sure, and those things of recency, relevancy, and engagement are three of the big things that go into these algorithms, because like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, they all used to have a chronological algorithm, which basically was like, okay, the most recent post is what you see first. And it doesn't work like that anymore. For me, I feel like it's unfortunate because sometimes you're like, for example, on Instagram, something will pop up and I'm like, oh, this looks like a cool show that I want to go to. And then you realize that it actually was posted 3 days ago, but I'm seeing it because it's a band that I like, but I actually missed the show. So that's a personal thing that I wish that it was chronological, but they work on these ways that are curated in a sense, and they're putting in front of you what you want to see. So this screenshot on the left is an example of Twitter, how you can see these back-to-back tweets. One happened 1 minute ago and the other was 14 hours ago. And so these are just based on, searching the term fundraising and kind of what comes up. So just thinking about that. And so if you want to kind of stay on top, and if you want to up your engagement in ways that people will continue to see your posts, this is what you can do. So like Patrick mentioned, in terms of proximity, staying active, tagging people, engaging with them, using hashtags that have purpose, instead of just like hashtag event or hashtag fundraising or hashtag, the name of your organization. Give them purpose, and things that might reach a broader audience, as well as rich media. So Eric actually mentioned this, and we're going to jump in to that in a little bit, but rich media just meaning pictures, videos, GIFs, polls, anything that will lead people to interact. And so, Patrick, I know we wanted to come back to this, so just if you could kind of run us through like a quick tie back to the demographics from earlier.
Absolutely. I think my grandmother is 89 years old, and she has a flip phone and watches TV. And my niece is 3 and she knows how to play an iPad. So I think, all of these things, we broke them down generationally, but everybody has their own way of doing it. And I think that's one of the things that, as we talked about, I think it's just a reminder to remember those and consider those preferences, in some of these channels, and your donors best, and your constituents best. And so, getting a little bit creative and really hammering that home. And I think as we looked at this, the personalized email that we talked to, we're always surprised, and I was surprised looking at some of these things, looking at the boomers, all right, I'm going to go right to the website, and different things. So it was higher than I might have expected. And I think I have to credit an organization, Jill Mitchell, who is one of these 52% of people that's a team of one with the West Texas Boys Ranch, made a comment to me recently that she said I could share with everybody. And I think that she tried a few different things. And so they tried Twitter, they tried Instagram, but she made a decision that Facebook is where people engage the most, and they like some comments and they could see the events through that page. So she just went all in on that. And instead of trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to say, she knew her base. And so she went to the place where they are. And so I think, there is a lot of ideas, but at the end of the day, finding the ones that resonate, and it might change with time, and as you look to expand your base,
Mm-hmm.
You might need to try different things, but at the end of the day, when you find something that works, figuring out how to optimize that versus testing some other things is always a good way to go.
Yeah, and exactly when we were doing the poll, what Eric said was perfect, because we have this slide for TikTok, and kind of the hack, so to speak, here is that raw, like really personal videos are popular right now. Like that's entirely what most Instagram stories are. It's what TikTok is. And again, the hack is that they're basically free to produce. If you have a smartphone, you have the people who are willing to do it and excited to kind of, make it personal and make it exciting, then there's no charge. You don't need a fancy camera or a production team. You don't even need editing software. Honestly, you can just edit on QuickTime, which I know comes on PCs and Macs as well. And you can use QuickTime to trim and edit video. So I actually want to show, Eric, if it's okay, I'm going to show one of your Twitter videos here. Hopefully everyone can still see my screen. Okay. So this, you can't hear this guy, but basically this is a video of one of the swim coaches doing, in order to raise money, doing belly flops every time people gave money, which I thought was kind of funny, sort of similar to the ice bucket challenge in a sense of just doing things that you physically would not want to submit yourself to, maybe unless people are donating money, much like marathons, in my opinion. But people do it, and this was a really great way. And like you said before, like Eric, right? $52,000 in 24 hours.
Yeah. So I'll just give you a little bit of information here, so because the video can be a little appalling outside of some context here, but so we challenged our coaches and our staff to be creative, and what they came up with was challenges, and well, again, we deal with a lot of affinity groups, so what most people were gravitating towards were sports specific initiatives, and what you see here on this video is our football performance coach, right? So he's our weight room coach for our football team, but we put out some challenges. So at like $1,000, this coach went ahead and did a belly flop for all the post alumni and all the other people who have been a part of this and know who he is. There is some connection to see the guy who makes you sweat and do all these things, kind of do something funny. We had some coaches also, run around the bases in the pouring rain. We had a coach jump into the local pond, and the swimming coach jumped into the local pond to raise $10,000. I mean, so not only did we get creative with videos, but we got creative on how to reach these donors and how to engage them. And what we found out was a lot of donors and a lot of constituents are really intrigued in creating relationships and seeing coaches, be a part of the crew, the club, the sport as a program. They're not better, than the student athletes. They're just part of the program. And what this did was really bring Eastern athletics and the coaches back down to ground zero. And people felt really heartwarmed with it. They enjoyed it so much. And again, it was just one of the strategies that we used to engage people through this event.
Yeah. Cool. And so this is kind of our final slide on social. And Patrick, I'll let you talk about it because I know you feel very passionate about it. So over to you.
I do. And I mean, I'm still laughing about that video. And I think it's awesome. And I think, one of the things that's great about it is like the pie your boss or dunk take things have been around for forever. But because of social media and because of, taking advantage of it, it's not just the people who are there. So I think Eric and their team do a great job of doing it. And I think people like to see that behind the scenes, but in particular with the things that we have here is really, encouraging, as we've talked about, across a bunch of these slides here, is sharing across as many mediums, as are successful. And, things like this where being able to, whether it's you as an organization or encouraging your donors to share on some of their different social media platforms. And, the crazy thing is you never know what's going to stick. And so, that's where doing creative things such as the video and things like that so many organizations do. We never talk about what doesn't work. And I bet you that Eric has 100 examples of what didn't work versus the some that do. So because you never know what's going to, click, taking advantage of your organization, your board members, the people that are part of it, and really bringing them in, and they're such an integral part of the story, is, throughout the different campaigns that you have, really letting them be a part of your messaging is the main point that we wanted to kind of encourage folks to do here.
Yeah, and to also give people a way to share it. So the easier you make it for them, the more likely they are going to share and spread the word. So thanks, you guys. We're going to jump into Q&A, but before we do so, I just wanted to ask Eric and Patrick both, kind of, if you, after kind of everything that we've gone through in the last 40 minutes, like, do you guys each, like, what kind of sticks out to your mind as the biggest takeaway from this?
Would you like to go first, Patrick, or me?
No, it's all you. I'll piggyback. You're going to say something great, so I'll just piggyback off it.
All right. So if I were to put it into a category of three, I think the first one is preparation. I think understanding what you're trying to get out of the event or the particular campaign that you're going into, and planning accordingly is one of the biggest misplanning steps that people do. They think impromptu, they can put things together. Oh, hey, this is a great post, and just post it without really thinking about the messaging, how we're going to execute it, and all the and even how the donors may be responding to it or seeing it, and putting yourself in their shoes and understanding how does that message sound coming from someone else's mouth into your ears rather than from your mouth to theirs. So I think that's the first one, is really planning what you're trying to do and to the event. I think the second one is understanding your donor base. That is one of the most overlooked pieces. Understanding who they are, what do they like, how do you engage them, and I said this throughout the talk here. Turning engagement into revenue is not as easy as what some people may make it seem that way. But when people are engaged, they're much more willing to open their wallets. And I don't want that to sound coming across very brash, but that's it. When people are having fun, when people are enjoying what they're a part of, they typically financially support you in a much better way. So that's the second piece I would say, is understanding your donors and their demographic.
Eric, sorry to cut you off. I'm actually just gonna have you send me that, and we'll send it in the follow-up. But I've just been notified the webinar is gonna end at the end of the hour, so I wanted to just jump into Q&A actually for the few questions that we've had come through. So the first one being, our organization has had little success with in-person social hours or events, but a lot of engagement on social media. How do we turn our social media engagement to turn into active in-person events? Maybe Eric, if you want to take that question.
Oh yeah, this is a huge one. We deal with this quite a bit, especially in a small town. I would say be creative. Find a way to raffle off some prizes. Find a way to maybe get something for free out to those individuals and say, hey, the first 100 people that like it and the first 100 people that show up get this prize. And I know it's a little bit of money kind of up front, but sometimes you have to invest in getting your people to where you need to get to for them to spend money. So investing in your event, investing in that process of getting them from social media liker to attendee is something that is worth the investment, and don't be afraid to be creative in trying to do so.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Thank you. So the next question will be, does personal community events include corporate employee volunteer days? Does that type of activity encourage corporate and employee donations? Eric, I think that also might be a good question for you.
Absolutely. One of the first groups that we target the hardest are our staff and our employees here at the university. One of the biggest things that we try to promote is to say, hey, if all of us in here buy in, then there won't be an excuse to say, hey, someone on your own department isn't buying in, why should I? So we really do put a strong emphasis on, if you're a part of the department, to help support financially, or again, spending your time volunteering at events and networking and getting out the messaging that we're trying to do is a big way to be a big help that doesn't ultimately affect your event in any way, but it does your employee base is a huge part of the messaging and the quality of your event. So having them a part of it is a big piece of that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And especially, you know, for, like you said, the staff and volunteers and things at the event. Okay, let's see. Another question that has come through. Patrick, this could be, oh wait, let's see. I guess either one, Patrick, with your event experience, or Eric, you know, obviously with your work experience, either of you could answer this. How have you found your older generations of donors participating in online parts of your auctions? Do they resist using mobile devices?
This is I'll jump in on this one because it's my favorite story of any event. There's a woman, her name is Gertrude, and so we have our staff that works these events, and a lot of the time, you know, most people, they're doing it on their phones, so they're like, oh, I got it, but it's the older donors, you know, in particular at events, that make it fun, and so she was like, how do I do this? I said, hey, I'll bid it for you on the iPad, and we'll do it. And then she came up a few times, she's like, how are we doing? And then at the end of the night, I was like, oh, you know, we didn't win. She's like, I don't care. I had so much fun. It's like I learned Facebook. I was like, well, man, you know, maybe not exactly, but, you know, I think you know, you never know what people are going to get excited about. And so I'll always remember that one. And I think, you know, it's just an example of a lot of this stuff can be intimidating. And I think, you know, there's some other great questions I know that have come in that we'll address kind of offline with it. But, you know, I think you never know what's going to stick, as we've said. So I think, you know, bringing those people in and giving them the opportunity to be a part.
Yeah.
You know, people, if there's one thing we know, people are going to surprise you. So including everybody's always a good way to go.
Yeah, cool. Well, fabulous job, Eric and Patrick. Thank you so much. And as Patrick mentioned, we'll be sending out a follow-up email, so you guys will all get a recording. And in the next week or so, we'll put out the answers to the rest of your Q&A questions. So thank you so much for joining today. And our next webinar, if you guys can make it, it's going to be on March 24th. And that is going to be pertaining to our latest silent auction study. And again, if you want to keep up with our resources, follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter. Otherwise, thank you guys all for taking the time today, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Eric.
Bye, guys.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.